This is a pufferfish. His name is Ben. Ben plays games like Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, Team Fortress, and other titles of the like. Ben has no experience with automation games, and he doesn't understand why anyone would ever willingly play them, and gets increasingly scared and disoriented when entering a room without any yellow paint. Ben is, by all methods of measuring, the polar opposite of a Factorio player, someone who, under no circumstances, would naturally give any automation game a shot. So what would happen if I sat Ben down and pointed a gun at his head and forced him to finish the base game of Factorio? How does someone with no prior knowledge of the automation genre build, organize, and plan? How does he deal with the challenges and puzzles along the way? Will Factorio hold up to someone who is so in antithesis to what it represents as a game? Today, we will find out. Today, Ben will play Factorio. This run was streamed live on Ben's Twitch channel over the course of about a couple months, with the explicit purpose of seeing how someone with zero experience would play Factorio. So we skipped the tutorial, and unless Ben specifically asked about the controls, we were not allowed to help in any way. So as you would expect, upon discovering that right-click picks up items, he immediately went and picked up the entire ship.
Yeah, I'm just right-clicking. I don't know. Oh yeah, it's giving me stuff.
And pretty soon, with that same right-click, he's figured out how to mine rocks and also mine stone and other materials out of the ground. Eventually, Ben places down the starter mining drill and attempts to power it with some of the wood, and has a little bit of trouble trying to fuel it at first, but figures it out eventually.
You need coal. How do I give you coal? Oh, wood can do it too. Hooray!
Using this knowledge, he's able to quickly surmise how to smelt items by placing the raw ore and a burnable substance into a furnace. Soon he turns on the nearest burner miner and quickly discovers that after mining a couple pieces of ore, it seems to jam for some reason. If you aren't aware, miners, unlike every other building in the game, automatically eject their mined resources out in front of them, requiring them to be constantly taken away, otherwise the machine jams. To a new player, this probably isn't immediately obvious, especially since the, build menu pops up and covers most of the screen. One of the situations in Factorio where playing the tutorial beforehand actually does really help. Eventually, after tinkering around with the belts, he notices the little arrow that indicates where the miner dumps its items. So he's able to figure it out all on his own without any help.
I could tell by there's an arrow right there, so I'm guessing that's where it feeds out of.
Ben's next challenge is figuring how to rotate items. So he proceeds to mash every single button on the keyboard, except for R. I'm not entirely sure why he wouldn't immediately try R, but he dropped it on the ground.
Oh, I see now.
But he in fact did not see now, as I had to eventually tell him that R was the key he was looking for. It's important to remember that different types of video games map your memory in different ways. While games like Factorio and other construction games commonly utilize letter keys that correspond to the action they're assigned to, first-person shooters instead group keybinds based on generic usage. After all, it wouldn't make sense for Maze Ultimate to be bound to the B key, while Tracers is bound to the P key. Alternatively, using the U key for all the ultimates is also annoying due to its distance from your primary movement keys, so linking the buttons by letter isn't as universal in games as it would initially seem. But not all difficulties can be explained away so eloquently. Sometimes it's just a skill issue. As Ben tries to use inserters for the first time,
why aren't you picking up?
He completely forgets what he just learned mere minutes ago, that arrows indicate the direction of travel. But eventually, through enough trial and error, he figures it out.
Oh, I see now. There.
Now that he's learned all the basics, Ben finally asks the question that all Factorio players start their careers off with.
Is there a way I can just have this guy self-feed into this?
Ooh. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
That's your first self-contained system.
Yeah.
Congrats.
And now...
Soon, his first iron miner and smelter automatically complete the first research trigger.
Steam power has been... I don't know when I was doing that.
It's only upon watching this live that I finally realized why Factorio made the change to the very first couple of recipes. Initially, they would be unlocked like all the others. You make red science and you put them in a research thing. But now, they automatically unlock as you smelt just regular items. And this was implemented specifically for new players. That way, they automatically have the research ding notify them that technologies exist, and naturally pulls their attention to the research menu in a very organic way. Now, with the goal of crafting the new items he just unlocked, Ben begins to automatically expand on what he's already built, and we all know what that leads into next.
Need more coal.
He eventually does make the connection that he needs to automatically get the coal over to where the iron is being made. But eventually he abandons that idea to just place a chest at the end of the belt to gather everything. We've all been there. And this, of course, results in several straight minutes of him just going back and forth, feeding each machine by hand, rather than simply finishing the construction of the coal belt. But eventually, he does finally decide to finish building the belt, and extends it all the way down, and finally, at long last, automates his iron ore patch.
Got it.
Pretty soon, he's found the Alt button, and asked the same question that we've all asked many times before.
Why is it so by default?
In order to increase his total iron plate production, he builds this smelter array. Let's open a window into his twisted mind.
So I'm gonna have everything come into this one belt, and then it's gonna be, and then this, see, like coal's gonna come into here. Yes, so.
But after so much time tinkering with other machines, he once again forgets how miners work.
Actually mining. I'm actually taking it out.
Luckily, this regression back to yellow paint levels of gaming is short-lived.
I got the stupid disease.
Factorio has a big learning curve for someone who's never played it before, so honestly, forgetting this little tidbit of info about the miners is understandable. Of course, this design he made introduces Ben to the concept of belt lanes, and all the mechanics associated with them.
Belt lanes have 2 lanes that can be used to transfer items and can be used for different resources. Entry inserters can pick up items from both lanes, but both lanes only on the far lane. Far lane? But I want it on the close lane. Alright, I'm just trying to see with that new rule what I have to do now.
What I love about Factorio, that I feel like a lot of people do not talk about or really mention, is how it is a puzzle game. But it's a puzzle game where you create your own puzzles for you to solve. But you also don't know the answers to the puzzles that you have created. And it does all this while still maintaining the sandbox sort of open vibe where you can have many different solutions to a single problem that you created knowingly or unknowingly. And it continues this same level of creating a puzzle and then solving it throughout the entire game beginning to end. It's what makes the game so infinitely replayable. Every time you start up a new world, you'll create a new puzzle for yourself that will require a new solution. And it's that freedom that allows Ben to come up with this absolutely batshit insane solution to the puzzle he's created for himself.
And now it's self-sufficient.
After solving that conundrum, Ben heads off to his next objective.
I must increase coal capacity.
After arriving at his coal miner setup, he dutifully expands it, and takes a moment to examine his work and make sure he didn't miss anything. And he of course finds that it's perfect and has no flaws, and proceeds to walk away from it for about half of an hour. With coal mining expanded, he sets up a copper mine as well as a stone mine, and chooses to store the raw copper ore and raw stone in chests. Of course, not without some strange design decisions that I decide to question him about. So I have a question. Why are you having coal put on that belt on the bottom?
Why am I doing that? I probably had a plan at some point.
His designs are becoming so incomprehensible, he doesn't even comprehend them himself. Now with a sufficient supply of smelted iron plates, he uses those materials to set up an automated copper smelting array. For his chosen design, he decides to just copy over the exact method of which he built his iron array. And soon, with copper sheets automatically smelting, he automatically unlocks his second science of the run, green circuits.
Electronics finished, hooray!
It's also around this time that he notices he was missing a belt in coal production.
Target full. Oh, I don't have a belt there, fuck.
Now with smelted copper plates at his disposal, he's able to craft a lab, which automatically unlocks the very first science pack research, Red Science. The Red Science unlocking this way also helps to push new players towards the next leg of their journey, crafting power, because the one item that the Red Science research unlocks is the laboratory, and that requires electricity to run.
What do you do? Oh, you need power.
So Ben gathers up all the materials he'll need,
Rock collection.
and sallies forth to construct a power plant. Although despite the concept's simplicity, Ben still ends up having some trouble setting up his first electric power. He doesn't seem to understand that water is not yet steam. Simply reading the tools at his disposal would of course solve this problem, but honestly, until now, I really wasn't even that concerned about the literacy rate in the United States. But, I mean, Jesus Christ, Ben.
Not connect with different fluids.
Luckily, Ben does eventually figure out what to do after looking through the inventory menu.
Boiler, there it is.
And now, armed with the esoteric knowledge that water can be boiled into steam to turn a turbine, something that humanity could only dream of doing nowadays, he assembles his very first power plant, although he still hasn't quite figured out how ratios work or even that they exist yet. So his construction is a little, shriveled. But upon trying to connect power poles to it, he doesn't comprehend that the blue square around the power pole is its area of effect. He thinks you have to directly connect it via a wire, which, I mean, that does make sense, sure. I mean, I feel like context clues should have gotten you over the line, but eventually he looks at the tutorial and figures out that, oh, it's an area around the pole, and finally places it correctly. Eventually. Any minute now. There we go, finally.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's the blue. They're blue now.
Now, finally with power, he sets up his two labs and immediately becomes confused because he seems to think that the red science is crafted in the lab or something. I'm not entirely sure.
Consumes electricity. Electricity, max. You have electricity. No research in progress.
Eventually, he does consult what is the savior of this run, the Factorio Tooltip Guide, to finally be shown that no, science is items.
Inserter? Well, how do... Oh, I need to give it science? Automation, ingredients, total raw.
Automation Science is the very first science pack you unlock in the game, and it can be easily crafted with simple ingredients that you almost assuredly have on hand from making electric power. But even after Ben handcrafts some sciences and places them into the research labs, he still gets stuck. He doesn't realize that he needs to actually select a research to begin researching. In his confusion, he attempts to mimic what the tooltip build has created, to obviously very little success. Eventually, he does find his way into the research panel and happens to mash the left mouse button on one of the researches.
Research queued. Ah!
I have a funny feeling that this is exactly why Factorio has that quick shortcut for researching something, in case a new player doesn't see the Start Research button and instead decides to mash on the research image like a gorilla trying to get a banana. Now that Ben has all the knowledge he needs to actually complete sciences, he finishes the very first automation science research.
Ah! Splitters!
You didn't even read what you were researching? Luckily, the next thing he researches is automation, so he quickly sets up automation, using the newly unlocked assembly machines to craft his very first automated science. Oh my goodness. Look at that, an automated science. And now that Ben has finished getting a taste of automating a final product, he immediately sets out and creates a rudimentary green chip setup, and even begins looking forward to the future, planning what he's going to build next.
So you have to do 75 red for a green. Damn, I need to increase production.
Next, he finishes researching radars, and decides to immediately take them for a test drive to see if he can find any additional resources nearby. But what he does find when he looks at the map are some, neighbors. But he ignores that for now and finishes his next research, electric miners. And noticing that he needs to expand his mining drill setup, he creates one of the most cursed fucking mining setups that I've ever had the displeasure of viewing with my mortal and immortal eyes. But eventually, the screams of the machines to need more resources finally gets to Ben's ears, and he's forced to expand his furnace setup. But of course, improving the design is out of the question, simply choosing to make it bigger than it was before, and keeping the burner inserter blazing on the opposite end of this belt, Jesus. And to cap off the early game, Ben, getting impatient over how slow the green science is researching, decides on his own to expand the red science automation and creates...
Oh my goodness!
After not playing for about a week, Ben comes back and immediately gets tired of handcrafting belts, so he actually, all by himself, sets up a rudimentary belt mall. He also did the exact same thing with the yellow inserters, because he got tired of handcrafting them all the time. He simply built a machine to make it for him. Good job, Ben. Jesus approves. But then, Ben built a massively huge stone brick smelting array for no reason. What are you using the bricks for?
I don't know.
Okay. Jesus does not approve, Ben. But once he notices that green science actually just takes yellow inserters and belts, he just, belts them over and makes green science. So green science done. It's almost like the game is designed to teach you in a way to make belts and inserters for yourself rather than handcrafting. Weird. But shortly after belting down the green science and connecting it to his research labs, he experiences another canon event for all Factorio players.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
No, the power died. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
The power brownout. But luckily this one is not too severe, and it's just simply a case of Ben moving a single belt of coal and having it cut off from the power plant.
Oh, because I broke this off way earlier.
So Ben is able to quickly fix the issue by splitting his main coal belt line with a burner inserter instead of the splitters, which he unlocked like an hour ago. Well, I mean, I guess it's not that big a deal. I mean, it's a cheaper option than using one of the new splitters he just made. Honestly, it's pretty economical for him to have used that way, but there's something to be said about cognitive rigidity. This is where you learn one way of doing something, and even though you have and know of a better solution, you simply refuse to adapt this new one. Ben is experiencing this right now, as he has learned that inserters can be used to split belts. And he refuses to unlearn it, even when a much, much easier solution to his problem is literally staring him right in the face. There isn't any point to thinking of a better solution because the solution he found already works. Now that green science is fully settled, Ben begins to look at expanding his iron ore mining facilities. While doing so, he notices that mining ore patches actually decrease in their total quantity as you get to the edge, and has a interesting take on that.
Oh, from 20 to 8, damn. That's why you never go on the outsides.
For whatever reason, Ben gets into his head that the edges of a mining ore patch, which have less than the center, are essentially worthless, and thus he immediately decides to head out and grab more ore patches, choosing to, instead of simply place more electric miners on the ore patches he already has, to put a couple more in the very center of a new ore patch and then belt it all the way back to his base. And once the new influx of iron begins to hit his base, he sees that he needs to immediately expand his iron smelting array, although he does it a little bit more unhinged this time.
I'm leaving you alive to suffer as you watch everyone else die.
What?
What?
Once he finishes upgrading his metal, he heads off to start upgrading green science to produce just as much as red science, and thank the heavens above that he actually manages to land on the most commonly used design for assembling machine lines. Good job, Ben. You know what? You earned this. He also takes the time to scale up power. He doesn't read any of the numbers on the power thing, so he still has no idea about the 2-to-1 ratio of boilers to steam engines, but I mean, he at least built more. That's a plus. Once he finishes with power, he immediately sets out to claim a new copper ore patch, as well as the brand new coal patch right next door. And he proceeds to combine these two into what I can only describe as his most unhinged idea yet. Luckily, he is punished for his crimes against heaven by stepping too close to one of his nearby neighbors. Despite this being his first encounter, he unfortunately does extremely well against them just because he happened to have seen that he could build a submachine gun and he just made it, because he could. So he ended up just totally dumpstering his first encounter with the biters. And speaking of the biters, I bet you're wondering, where exactly are they? We are playing with them on, as you can see, and this is just regular difficulty settings with no changes made to them whatsoever. Well, Ben happened to have landed on one of the single best seeds I have ever seen in Factorio. Look at this fucking thing. Barely a desert in sight, and every single biter nest is behind multiple thick forests worth of trees to absorb pollution. And the amount of area he has is also insane. Like, this is crazy. All of this culminates in him not getting a single biter attack on his base until 9 hours in. And they really don't even do that much damage other than destroying his stupid, ugly-ass furnace stack. Not only that, his biter expansion luck was also insane. Here's his pollution cloud. Not a single biter base is inside of it. I don't even know how that attack even happened. This is after 9 hours. How haven't any biters moved into his cloud? Regardless of how little the biters have been affecting Ben, the slight against him he took very personally and went out and completely wiped out the offending biter base off the face of Novice.
This is mine now.
With the biter menace temporarily quelled, Ben finally sets up a steel furnace stack for the first time in the game, and even consults the tips and tricks screen to learn how to utilize splitters.
That's always one off, god damn it.
Which he then immediately utilizes to set up a mall for medium power poles. Ben's laziness at not wanting to handcraft items has driven him to build random malls around an entire base for all the construction parts he needs. His next objective is to start making blue science, so he heads out to claim the 2 oil fields within his territory. And exactly like you would expect, he immediately sets up pipe automation because he doesn't want to be building that shit in his inventory. And he's going to be needing a lot of them, since he is content with simply snaking regular pipes all throughout his base. Oh, the horror. So, dear viewer, now that Ben has set up sulfur production, what do you think he's going to make with it? Is it A, blue science, B, nothing, C, explosives, or D, turning it all into sulfuric acid so he can make a fuck ton of accumulators he'll never use? Vote on your phones now. It's D. Of course it's fucking D. You knew it was D the moment I fucking said it. He turned it all into fucking sulfuric acid, and he fucking turned it, and then he turned all the sulfuric acid into accumulators. No, I don't know why he did this. No, he does not know why he did this. He just did it, and they sat there in the chest the whole game. Amazing. As you would imagine, this quickly drains all of his petroleum he just made, and he is forced to immediately expand his oil processing by making this abomination. He follows up this lovely design by automating the second ingredient of blue science, engines, which quickly puts more strain on his iron and steel processing, which he decides to fix by moving iron ore from the beginning of the furnace stack to the end. With the iron ore issue solved, he utilizes a brand new coal patch to make plastic and begins construction of the red circuits automation, which is a notorious wall for new players. But Ben, surpassing expectations yet again, actually makes a pretty competent design here. Although I come to find out that the reason for the belt weaving between the inserters is that he didn't realize that long inserters can insert items directly into the center of a machine. He simply assumed that the items had to be inserted from the very edge of the machine. But with that, automation of the ingredients is complete, and Ben begins construction of blue chemical science, by belting over his engine's red chips and by parasitizing his accumulator automation's sulfur. And soon, he has surpassed one of the biggest walls for new players of Factorio.
It's doing it, hey.
But that science setup is absolutely cursed, so... What are you making walls for?
Just because I can right now.
With chemical science automated, Ben, being the anxiety-ridden, antidepressant slurping zoomer that he is, has decided to assault the biters before they can assault him. So, he sets up military science, utilizing the materials he already has on hand, and begins research on the very first thing he thinks sounds cool. Flamethrowers. Of course he picked flamethrowers. Of course he did. Once he crafts some, he immediately begins slinging walls and oil-filled pipes all around his borders, literally right in front of neighboring biter bases, which goes exactly how you think it would, as he aggroes the base and now has to contend with the newly evolved medium biters. All right, everybody, thanks for coming to our fire drill. As he attempts to throw grenades at the bases. As this is happening, his newly minted flamethrowers nick the tree line of the massive western forest that has shielded his base's pollution from the biters' noses, resulting in the entire forest burning to the ground before his eyes. Remember how grateful you were that all those trees were there blocking your pollution, Ben?
Yeah. Well, I still have another wall, but yeah, it's...
Culminating in him being eaten alive by the biter horde.
When you upgrade armor, oh, there it is.
With his first legitimate defeat at the hands of the biters, he bunkers down and reinforces his western wall, otherwise known as his only wall, and upgrades his engineer's suit to modular armor, and even utilizes the equipment grid, although he does have some confusion on how he's supposed to charge the batteries within his armor.
So do I just like stand next to electrical posts?
No.
I don't know. I can build an outlet, maybe. Who knows?
After his defenses prove sufficient against the biters' attacks, he moves on to other tasks, such as adding more iron ore to his furnace stack to actually increase production, discovering why solar panels are dookie.
Solar panels aren't doing jack shit, and they don't work at night. Well, we'll see at daytime. We've probably just been catching them at night. We'll see what they are like.
It is daytime right now.
I think my flashlight's off. Shit ass.
Drawing on the ground with bricks. Workshopping new capitalist propaganda ideas to sell to the president. They should put ads on the front ends of Predator missiles so that right before the terrorists die, they see an ad. And increasing his stone mining and brick smelting setups to make more walls. Unsurprisingly, expanding to yet another ore patch draws the ire of a southern biter base nearby. So, to prevent any further attacks, Ben builds this phallic little gun chode and calls it a day. Then he heads back to his main base and finally decides to upgrade all of his stone furnaces to steel furnaces. Shortly after, he notices that the uranium processing technology is not unlocked by sciences, but instead by mining the spicy rocks directly. So, he heads out to his nearest uranium ore patch, pipes sulfuric acid across the length of his entire base, and then belts the mined uranium to absolutely nowhere. He literally just left it like that for 20 hours, since he gets distracted by automating concrete.
Where does the pipe go into for water?
Ben, come on.
Oh, up there, yeah, okay.
But once he figures out how assembler 2s and liquids work, he immediately builds way more concrete than he'll ever need. But after yet another biter attack breaks down his northwestern wall, Ben decides to finally take the fight to them once and for all.
Oopsies. How do I shoot? Uh-oh. Now. Out of here. Oh yeah, I can pick it up. I forget. I'm gonna finish what I started long ago. Full throttle. I can do this. Oh, this is a big one. Diving. Big dive, big dive, big dive. And I'm dead. Electric furnaces and productivity modules? What the fuck? I don't have any of these.
Purple production science initially seems simple at first. After all, its ingredients are made up with materials you already have automated to even get to this point. But its purpose is to push your factory to its limit. Each ingredient requires an absorbent amount of materials in order to automate at a reasonable rate. More than likely, your previously built infrastructure will not be sufficient and you'll be forced to expand in order to meet demand. Purple Science is introduced in order to teach the player about upscaling your current builds, rewarding players who went through the trouble of building modular, easily expandable designs, and punishing those who went full spaghetti. Ben falls into this trap hook, line, and sinker, like all beginners do, by believing he can simply build assemblers for each ingredient and parasitize the intermediate materials from his base. Faced with the headache of unraveling their own spaghetti nightmare, many players can sometimes choose to give up entirely at this point. But Ben is no ordinary player, because unlike most first-time Factorio players, I happen to have a gun to his head. So he picks himself up and carries on, similar to how my carry-on is directly pointed at his head. After increasing his total copper and iron mines, he adds his newly crafted electric furnaces to a furnace stack directly attached to the ore belts. Then creates entirely new green and red chip production to satiate his module demand. Then he switches to advanced oil processing to solve his red chip's demand for plastic. But this moment in and of itself is a wall for many new players, since advanced oil processing requires a perfect balancing of petroleum, light, and heavy oil. Ben solves this isse by simply turning all light oil into petroleum and turning all heavy oil into solid fuel that he just fucking places into his tank's inventory. Yeah, That'll certainly be a place to put the solid fuel. Soon, he has a brand new red circuit array fully online. Riding off his success in the northern oil field, he heads to the southern oil field to upgrade it to advanced oil processing as well. Because he doesn't have them connected together, he has two separate oil fields, making plastic in two different places. Except this time he doesn't just turn light oil into petroleum, but also heavy oil into light oil, and then that light oil into petroleum as well, crafting an advanced processing setup which is more effective than anything I built in my first 100 hours of playing. It's enough to make a grown man cry, and it's at this point I begin to believe that Ben has truly surpassed his limits, that he has finally become, in his own right, a true Factorio pro.
Dude, everyone wants to do trigonometry. I'm just doing 2 + 2 = 4, man.
No, Ben, you're doing trigonometry. Everyone wants you to do 2 + 2.
No power. Yep, there it goes.
With Purple Science complete, the base is now too big for the steam engine power plant to keep up with. and Ben's factory enters a death spiral and dies. Normally, a player entering this situation unprepared would be totally screwed, and would need to resort to using burner miners to even get a semblance of power back online. But Ben, in all his wisdom, has been throwing his inventory into chests every time it gets full. Oh my god, there's so much coal in these boxes.
My emergency coal.
So he ends up having a massive supply of fuel just lying around that he can use to manually jumpstart his factory. Dude, it's the worst. The hoarder was proven right. He did need all that stuff again. Oh, that's the worst. So after jumpstarting his power with his totally planned for this the whole time backup supply, he now has to race against the clock to increase his power generation before another brownout occurs. So he sets his sights on finally utilizing that uranium ore he left on the belt, and begins to assemble uranium processing and nuclear power.
A nuclear reactor. Why that's so expensive?
Uranium processing is yet another wall for many new players, introducing several new mechanics all at once. Many new players simply opt to continue to increase their steam engine setup until they no longer have power issues. But the game does have a reason for dumping all these new mechanics on you at once, and that's to teach you that you suck and are stupid and to lower your self-esteem. But Ben's self-esteem can't possibly get any lower, so he is immune to the effects. But regardless, this still ends up being the most difficult part of the game for him by far, as he struggles to come up with a design that doesn't jam from too much uranium-238. While each design he makes becomes progressively better, he never fully builds a fully automatic setup, settling to just empty the chest once it gets full. But once his build is complete, he quickly finds himself with the rare uranium-235 he needs. And shortly after, pools the tons of materials scattered throughout chests in his base to make a rudimentary nuclear power plant. Although it takes a second for him to remember that ratios exist, and fixes his design accordingly. The power is restored. The base is flourishing. The biters are seething. And Ben, do you want more train breaking force, or are you just clicking stuff?
I suppose I do.
You're not looking at what you click on at all?
It's in the cart. I have it in my cart, so I must want to buy it.
Is mentally fucking gone. With one science pack to go, and the aliens' recent evolution to big biters, now is the time to leave the planet. Utility science is the most complex in the game, requiring blue chips, low-density structures, and flying robot frames. Blue chips are the easiest, as Ben simply upgrades his intermediate chips to use level 2 assemblers in order to produce enough to make the blue chips. Next is low-density structures, which only require basic materials to make, so simply increasing steel and copper production is enough to bridge the gap. And the final hurdle, flying robot frames. These are the first science material new players face that require 4 separate ingredients. On their own pose much of a challenge. Steel and green chips are already solved. The electric engines are easy to craft once you set up lubricant production, and the final ingredient Ben has once again already solved, since he automated accumulators for no reason in the early game. He now simply redirects those wasted batteries towards his science production. But in order to fully facilitate supplying the assemblers with the intermediate materials, Ben finally, after nearly 40 hours, crafts upgraded belts in order to utilize their 45 item per minute capacity. And with that, the rocket is researched. In order to launch the rocket and complete the game, you need to assemble 1,000 of each ingredient into the rocket silo. But by design, yellow science already necessitates automating 2 of the 3 required ingredients for launch: low-density structures and blue chips. So, Ben quickly diverts them to his silo, but the third material, rocket fuel, proves to be too much for Ben to handle, not because it's too complex to make, but because at this point, with a victory so close at hand, he can't bring himself to fully automate them, instead settling for a couple of assemblers crafting the fuel and utilizing himself as the final belt, slowly running each shipment of rocket fuel to the silo over the course of 2 fucking hours of our time. But at the end of it all, despite the heartache, headache, and curse creations, Ben, the 6'7" saying, skibbity toilet slaying, and not Factorio playing gamer has successfully beaten Factorio.
You've beaten the game by launching a rocket into space.
Thanks for watching. If you want to hear Ben's commentary on this video or a behind the scenes track, then click the gear icon, change the audio track, and start the video over. If you would like to support my stuff, feel free to join the Patreon or become a member. You'll gain access to the community Discord and all the cringe nightmare fuel that happens there. And I stream every Sunday and sometimes weekdays, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for watching again, and bye-bye.